starting with today's lecture. In previous lecture, we completed aphorism number 146 to 149, and we are starting with the topic of remedy selection, how the remedy is selected for the cure of the patient. In this aphorism are, that is 146 to 154, and in this we covered the aphorism number 146 to 149. So before moving towards, first we will revise this aphorisms, that is aphorism number 146, 147, 148 and 149. So in aphorism number 146 we studied about three three necessary, that is third point of business of true physician. In this, after getting the idea of knowledge of disease, after getting the knowledge of medicine, the physician must know how to cure the patient, that is why how to apply the knowledge of medicines to the knowledge of disease. Then after this we comes towards the next point, that is aphorism number 147, and it is related to the specific remedy, that is selection of a right medicine for the cure of the patient. And in this, in homeopathy as such, there are no specific remedies on the disease name, as we cannot give the place for the specific remedy in homeopathy according to the disease name or a nosological classification of disease. But in homeopathy, specific remedy is one which is indicated by matching the symptom of artificial disease to the symptom of natural disease. But in homeopathy, what is specific remedy? Specific remedy is one which is indicated by matching the symptom of artificial disease to the symptom of natural disease. Then in aphorism number 148, we studied about how homeopathic cure takes place, or also we call it as a modus operandi. In this, we studied as all the natural diseases are not to be considered as the disease caused by the internal or external material causes, but they should be considered as a disease caused by the immaterial dynamic morphic influence, that is by miasms. And in this, these dynamic morphic influences disturbs the harmonious flow of orders between vital force, mind and physical body, and the individual land into abnormal signs and symptoms, and these are known as disease. So physician records the case, forms the portrait of disease, and the same portrait he match with the portrait of the medicine and select the same medicine in slightly higher than the required potency by following the therapeutic law of nature. And in this way patient gets the freedom of natural disease due to, that is of artificial disease, as each and every medicinal substance has its own duration of action, and after completion of duration of action medicine, patients gets the freedom from that artificial medicinal disease also, and the patient is free from all the disease condition and he moves towards the cure. So as we know that this is the modus operandi, or how the homeopathic cure takes place. This is explaining in aphorism number 148. Then we studied the aphorism number 149, and aphorism number 149, it is related to the chronic and the complex diseases takes time to cure. So in this, those diseases which are chronic and long lasting requires much time for their cure, especially those chronic diseases which are complicated by prolonged use of allopathic crude drugs. Means if physician using a allopathic crude drugs for a long time, that causes a complex disease formation in a patient, and this diseases becomes incurable in future, and these diseases took a long time to cure by homeopathic treatment. So these diseases are most difficult to cure by homeopathy also, as it becomes complex or complicated due to the allopathic crude drugs. So this is explaining in aphorism number 149, and 149 having a footnote that is related to the crossbreed drug, or also we call it as a mongrel sect. In this, Dr. Hahnemann explained these as a mongrel sects which do not practice homeopathy in a proper way, as they do not take a laborious work regarding the selection of remedy. They only select one to two symptoms, and on that one to two symptoms select a homeopathic remedy that matches with that symptoms and gives to the patient, as they do not thoroughly uh, get the knowledge of materia medica only on the basis of repertory. By using a repertory on the only one to two symptoms, they select the remedy and give to the patient and says that homeopathy can't do anything, or there is no results find in a homeopathy. So Dr. Hahnemann called this physician as a mongrel sect, or also called as a crossbreed dog, that are injurious to the field of homeopathy. So physician must be an ideal physician. He must form a portrait of a patient and match with a portrait of a medicine, and accordingly with the similarity he select the medicine and give to the patient that causes a permanent cure in a patient, and that took a very laborious work. So physician must be having a laborious investigator. He must be having a deliberations to the pathy. So this is regarding the mongrel sect, which is explained in the footnote under aphorism number 159. So this we studied in yesterday's lecture. From today's lecture we are going to start with the next aphorism, aphorism number 150. And what is explaining in this aphorism, that is 150. First I will read the aphorism 150. If a patient complains of one or more trivial symptoms that have been only observed a short time previously, the physician should not regard this as a fully developed disease that requires serious medical aid. A slight alteration in the diet and regimen will usually suffice to dispel such an indisposition. So aphorism number 150, it is regarding the indisposition. In this they explain about what is mean by indisposition and what is its management. So in this they explain as in a case which is of very short duration, in which there is a presence of only one to two symptoms which are not so serious and intense, such diseases should not be considered as a fully developed disease. So in these are the diseases which can be very well treated by having a alteration in diet and regimen. They are called as a indisposition. So in short, what is mean by indisposition? Indisposition means a slight alteration in a state of health, that we call it as a indisposition. And in this, in a case of which of very short duration, it is of very short duration case which having presence of only one to two symptoms and which are not so serious and intense, and such diseases should be considered as a fully developed disease. That diseases should not be considered as a fully developed disease. These are the diseases which can be very well treated by having alteration in diet and regimen. They are called as a indisposition, and these are diseases can be managed with, or what is the management of these diseases? These diseases can be managed with a slight alteration in diet and regimen, that we call it as a indisposition. So indisposition, it can be asked for a 5-mark short note, or it can be asked for a 2-mark question. So in this position you have to explain as the following. We consider only indisposition. In this, by indisposition Hahnemann means a slight alteration of health manifested by one or more trivial symptom. So this is the definition of indisposition, that is, by indisposition Hahnemann means a slight alteration of health manifested by one or more travel symptoms which a slight alteration in diet and regimen will usually suffice to dispel. That is, which slight alteration in diet and regimen will usually suffice to dispel. In disease proper, the vital force cannot adjust itself automatically even with adequate hygienic and dietetic measures. So, in disease condition, the vital force cannot adjust itself automatically even with adequate hygienic and dietetic measures, but requires a specific stimulus in form of medicine for the restoration of balance. That is, the disease condition requires some stimulus in the form of medicine which restores the health of a that is health balance. So this require in disease condition, but in it is sometimes seen that patient complain of some very slight symptoms that appear shortly. That is, some patient having some very slight symptoms that appears only shortly, and usually these symptoms are so insignificant that by some modification of diet and regulating a habit they disappear. That is, these symptoms are so insignificant that some modifications in their diet and regimen and they do not require any active medical aid or medicinal aid at that time. This slight suffering is called as a disposition, and we call this slight suffering as a indisposition. So after this you have to explain the examples as a person feels exhausted and tired after loss of sleep due to night watching. That is, after night watching, person feeling exhausted and tired. He gets all right after rest and sleep without any medical aid. So when he took some sleep or rest without any medical aid, he becomes all right. So this is one of the example of indisposition. Then we took example as a person takes a rich and fatty food, suffers from indigestion and loose stools. That is, fasting or a light balanced diet restore his health. That is, if a person took a heavy diet at night, at other morning he may suffer from a indigestion and a loose stools. But slight fasting or a balanced diet restore his health. There is no need of any medical aid at that time. However, a dose of or a two of a well selected homeopathic medicine ensures speedy recovery, leaving no chance of progress of illness. So these are the examples relating to the indisposition. After this, they explain the cause of indisposition. In indisposition, what is the cause? Indisposition is caused by exciting or maintaining causes, also termed as a causa occasionalis. This makes them different from the dynamic disease, that is disease proper, which is caused by dynamic morphic agents or miasms. So what is the causes of indisposition? The causes of indispositions are, that is, it may be caused due to some exciting causes or due to some maintaining causes, but most of the time it is caused due to the exciting causes. So these are the causes of indisposition, and it is this makes them different from the dynamic disease, which is caused by the dynamic morphic agent or the miasms. Then what is the treatment of indispositions? That is, the treatment of indispositions necessarily involves removal of these causes wherever they exist. The vital force is superficially affected and does not require medical aid for restoration of its normal harmonious flow. That is, the treatment of indisposition necessarily involves removal of the cause whenever they exist. Means you have to remove that exciting cause or sometimes maintaining cause, and you will be free from the indisposition. The vital force is superficially affected and does not require a medical aid for the restoration of its normal harmonious flow. That is, in this the vital force is superficially affected, and in this condition you do not require any medical aid. But in case of dynamic disease, the vital force is so deranged that it cannot be restored health without medical aid. But when there is a dynamic disease, the vital force is deranged and you have to require a medical aid. The eradication of causes of miasmatic diseases require medicinal aid, but in case of indisposition, a slight alteration in state, that is, changes in diet and regimen, will recover the that symptoms that is caused in the indisposition. So, a slight alteration in a diet and regimen will usually suffice to dispel a such indisposition. So this is the treatment of indisposition. So the gist of the aphorism, that is aphorism number 150, is that is indisposition requires only change in diet or habits of living. Every organism has a power of enduring for a certain time a disturbances of equilibrium of the stimuli, and once the stimuli is restored it rebounds to the normal functions. So this is the explanation of indisposition, and this is the most commonly asked question in every exam. So all of you must understand what is meant by indisposition. So all of you understand what is mean by indisposition? Any difficulty regarding this aphorism 150? Very easy aphorism, aphorism number 150, indisposition. Now there is one question again asked repeatedly, that is difference between the disease and indisposition. You have to write the difference between disease and indisposition. So in this way we'll see the points regarding the difference between the disease and indisposition. So in this first point regarding the difference of disease and indisposition, so what is mean by disease? Disease is a dynamic derangement of vital force by some disease dynamics and is manifested externally as altered sensation and functions, that is symptoms both subjective and objective, for which the patient come to the physician for relief and cure. This is called as a disease, that is dynamic derangement of the vital force by some disease dynamics and is manifested externally as altered sensations and functions, for which the patient comes to the physician for relief and cure. That is we call as a disease. And what is indisposition? Indisposition means a slight alteration of health manifested by one or more trivial symptoms. The affected person seldom needs physician for the relief of the same. That we call it as a indisposition. That is a slight alteration of health manifested by one or more trivial symptoms. The affected person seldom needs physician for the relief of the same. That we call it as a indisposition. Then the next difference between the disease and indisposition is that second point regarding disease. In disease, the vital force cannot adjust itself automatically, even with adequate hygienic and dietetic measures, but requires a specific stimulus in the form of medicine for the restoration of balance. So, in disease, we took the difference as in disease the vital force cannot adjust itself automatically even with adequate hygienic and dietetic measures, but requires a specific stimulus in the form of medicine for the restoration of balance. Means in disease condition you require medicine, and in indisposition vital force does not derange A slight alteration in diet and regimen will usually suffice to dispel the problem. That is, in indisposition there is no derangement of vital force. So you not require a medicine in the indisposition. A slight alteration in diet and regimen usually recover the patient. This is the second difference. Then the third point regarding the disease. Disease has two aspects, that is acute disease and the chronic disease. And in indisposition there is no such aspects in indisposition. Means disease is classified into two types, that is acute diseases and the chronic diseases. But in disposition it there is no any such classification of indisposition. The next point of difference between disease and indisposition is that disease can be cured by medicines whose pathogenetic effects are well known to the physician from their thorough proving on healthy human beings. That is, disease can be cured by medicines whose pathogenic effects are well known to the physician from their thorough proving on a healthy human being. As we know the medicinal effect on healthy human being, and we can treat that disease condition with the medicines. In indisposition, symptoms are so insignificant that by some modifications of diet and regulation of a habit, they disappear. They do not require any active medicinal aid. So they do not require any medicinal aid in that. Then the next difference between disease and indisposition, that is in disease, natural diseases resulting from purely dynamic derangement of the vital force can only be cured by homeopathy, in which the following principles of similia similibus curanter administers medicines that are capable of producing a similar but stronger morbid state in the living human organism in place of the old existing natural disease. So what is the next point regarding the disease is that the natural diseases resulting from a purely dynamic derangement of vital force can be only cured by homeopathy, which following which follows the principle of similia similibus curanter, that administered medicines that are capable of producing the similar but stronger morbid state in the living organism in place of old existing natural disease. Means in this they explain as a how the natural diseases are eradicated by giving the homeopathic medicines, and that homeopathic medicine produces an artificial disease, and that artificial disease annihilate the natural disease from the patient's body. And in indisposition they explain as indisposition is caused by exciting or maintaining causes, also termed as a causa occasionalis, and the treatment of indisposition necessarily involves removal of these causes wherever they exist. Here the vital force is superficially affected and does not require medical aid for restoration of its normal harmonious flow. That is, the indisposition is caused due to some exciting or maintaining causes, and the treatment of indisposition involves removal of the cause. There is vital force is superficially affected and does not require any medical aid for the restoration of its harmonious flow. So this is the difference between the disease and the indisposition. So this is also the question that may be asked for a 5 marks, that is difference between disease and indisposition, and you have to explain at least these 5 points regarding the difference between disease and indisposition. So all of you understand the difference between disease and indisposition. So we will move forward. डिसीज आणि इनडिस्पोजिशन, तर त्याच्यामध्ये पहिला पॉईंट जो त्यांनी सांगितलाय, व्हॉट इज द डिफरन्स बिटवीन डिसीज आणि इनडिस्पोजिशन, तर त्याच्यामध्ये त्यांनी डेफिनेशन सांगितले डिसीजची पण आणि इनडिस्पोजिशनची पण. तर डिसीजचे डेफिनेशन काय आहे? डिसीज इज द डायनॅमिक डिरेंजमेंट ऑफ द व्हायटल फोर्स by some disease dynamics and is manifested externally as altered sensation and functions for which the patient comes to the physician for relief and the cure. This is definition of disease. Then definition of indisposition. Indisposition means a slight alteration of health manifested by one or more travel symptoms affected a person seldom needs physician for the relief of the same. This is definition of indisposition. हा झाला first point. Then second point they explain as regarding disease. मग disease मध्ये काय त्यांनी एक्सप्लेन केलंय की disease in the disease vital force cannot adjust itself automatically. Disease हा स्वतः vital force automatically adjust होऊ शकत नाही in disease condition even with adequate hygienic and dietic measures. जरी आपण हायजेनिक आणि डायटिक मेजर्स जरी फॉलो केले तरी तो ऑटोमॅटिकली रिस्टोर होत नाही व्हायटल फोर्स इन डिसीज कंडिशन बट रिक्वायर्स अ स्पेसिफिक स्टिम्युलस इन द फॉर्म ऑफ मेडिसिन. त्याला काय पाहिजे असतो? एक स्टिम्युलस पाहिजे असतो. कशासाठी? फॉर द रिस्टोरेशन ऑफ बॅलन्स इन डिसीज कंडिशन. मग याच्या सोबतच जो इंडिस्पोजिशनचा पॉइंट आहे तो काय? इन इंडिस्पोजिशन व्हायटल फोर्स डज नॉट डिरेंज. कारण इंडिस्पोजिशन मध्ये काय? व्हायटल फोर्स डिरेंज झालेला नाही, फक्त तो सुपरफिशियली अफेक्ट झालेला असतो. त्याच्यामुळे फक्त आपण डाएट आणि रेजिमेन मध्ये जरी बदल केले तरी ते सिम्पटम काय होऊन जातात? डिसअपिअर होऊन जातात. कशामध्ये? इंडिस्पोजिशन मध्ये. हा झाला सेकंड पॉइंट. मग थर्ड पॉइंट त्यांनी एक्सप्लेन केला की डिसीजचे आपण टाइप्स केलेत, ॲक्यूट आणि क्रोनिक. तसे इंडिस्पोजिशनचे असे काही टाइप्स नाही आहेत ॲक्यूट आणि क्रोनिक. देर इज नो सच aspects इन indisposition. मग फोर्थ पॉइंट आहे दॅट इज डिसीज कॅन बी क्युअर्ड by medicines whose pathogenic effects are well known to the physicians from their thorough proving on healthy human beings. मग डिसीज आपण कशाने क्युअर करतो? की मेडिसिनने क्युअर करतो. आणि मेडिसिन काय आहेत की ज्याचं पॅथोजेनेटिक पॉवर आपल्याला पूर्णपणे माहिती आहे, कारण आपण ते मेडिसिन हेल्दी ह्युमन बिंग्स वरती प्रूव्ह केलेले आहेत. त्याच्यामुळे आपल्याला ते थरोली माहित आहेत आणि ते मेडिसिन्स देऊन आपण डिसीज कंडिशन क्युअर करू शकतो. हा फोर्थ पॉइंट आहे डिसीजचा. मग त्याच्यासोबतच इनडिस्पोजिशनचं काय सांगितलं त्यांनी? इन इनडिस्पोजिशन सिम्पटम्स आर सो इनसिग्निफिकंट. कारण इनडिस्पोजिशन मध्ये आपल्याला फक्त 1 ते 2 सिम्पटम मिळतात पेशंटचे, दॅट बाय सम मॉडिफिकेशन्स ऑफ डाएट अँड रेग्युलेशन्स दे डिसअपिअर. आपल्याला फक्त 1 ते 2 सिम्पटम मिळतात आणि ते फक्त डाएट आणि रेजिमेंट मध्ये थोडे बदल केले तर ते डिसअपिअर होऊन जातात. त्याच्यामुळे दे डू नॉट रिक्वायर एनी ॲक्टिव्ह मेडिसिनल एड. त्याच्यामुळे त्याला मेडिसिन देण्याची गरज नाही आहे. पण डिसीज कंडिशनमध्ये काय? डिसीज कंडिशन आपण मेडिसिनच ट्रीट करतो आणि ते मेडिसिनचा पॅथोजेनेटिक इफेक्ट आपल्याला वेल नोन आहे बाय प्रूव्हिंग दिस मेडिसिन ऑन अ हेल्दी ह्युमन बिंग्स. हा झाला फोर्थ पॉईंट. आणि शेवटचा पॉईंट आहे दॅट इज फिफ्थ पॉईंट रिगार्डिंग द डिफरन्स दॅट इज in disease how we cure the disease condition. Means in short they explain the modus operandi how homeopathic cure takes place. म्हणजे नॅचरल डिसीज आपण कसा अनहिलेट करतो बॉडी मधनं ते डिसीज मध्ये सांगितलं त्यांनी. आणि इनडिस्पोजिशन मध्ये व्हॉट इज द वे ऑफ क्युअर. याच्यामध्ये काय की इनडिस्पोजिशन एकतर एक्साइटिंग किंवा मेंटेनिंग कॉजेसमुळे होतात आणि याच्यामध्ये व्हायटल फोर्स कसं सुपरफिशियली अफेक्ट झालाय. तर त्याच्यामध्ये वे ऑफ क्युअर काय की आपल्याला फक्त तो एक्साइटिंग मेंटेनिंग कॉज रिमूव्ह करायचा आहे आणि त्याच्या जे काही स्लाइट अल्टरेशन करायचं डाएट आणि रेजिमेनमध्ये ते थोडं केलं स्लाइट अल्टरेशन की तो कशाकडे जातो? परत क्युअरकडे जातो. आणि फिफ्थ पॉईंटमध्ये डिसीजमध्ये त्यांनी इन शॉर्ट हाऊ होमिओपॅथिक क्युअर टेक्स प्लेस हे सांगितलं. आणि इनडिस्पोजिशनमध्ये वे ऑफ क्युअर कसं सांगितलं की तुम्हाला कॉज रिमूव्ह करायचा आहे आणि त्याच्यासोबत थोडं स्लाइट अल्टरेशन करायचं डाएट आणि रेजिमेनमध्ये. तुम्हाला तिथं मेडिसिन देण्याची काहीच गरज नाही आहे. आणि अशा प्रकारे इनडिस्पोजिशन पण ऑटोमॅटिकली काय होणार आहे? क्युअर होऊन जाणार आहे. तर हे काय 5 पॉईंट्स ऑफ डिफरन्स बिटवीन डिसीज अँड इनडिस्पोजिशन. सो ऑल ऑफ यू अंडरस्टँड? Okay. So in this one more topic is in short they can be asked, that is the different ways of remedy selection. What are the different ways of remedy selection? This is not particularly related to any aphorism in that, but as a question asked in exam we will see that different ways of remedy selections. First question that cover in this lecture, that is indisposition, and second question, that is different ways of remedy selection. That is, it is not actually explained in any aphorism, but this can be asked for exam, so we will see from exam point of view, that is different ways of remedy selection. So what are the different ways of remedy selection? In this, the first way is causation, second way is modalities, third way miasms, fourth organopathic remedies, then keynote, then concomitants, then relationship of remedies, then changes in personality and temperament. So these are the different way by which we can select a remedy for the patient. So in this, the first way, that is causation, we are studying the different ways of remedy selection. In this, the first way is causation. In this, giving attention to the precipitating factors or causes helps a great deal in remedy selection. For example, history of getting weight leading to body ache and other symptoms suggest Rustox and Pulsatilla. In case where the complaints arise from excessive intake of alcohol and smoking, that is nux vomica, might get indicated. Then ignatia often proves helpful in complaints arising from worry and death in family. So in this, the remedy like aconite, hippursulf and spongia will be thought of when the complaints follow exposure to dry cold wines. Thuja, sulfur very often came up for the consideration of for elements following vaccination. So in this, the first way of remedy selection is that is causation. We can select the remedy on the basis of cause. What is the cause of remedy? In that case, we can select the remedy according to the cause of the disease condition. So in this, they explain as a giving attention to the causes helps a great deal in remedy selection. That is, it can help in a remedy selection. That is, in this they give the examples, that is history of getting weight leading to body ache and other symptoms suggest Rustox pulsatilla. So this is according to the cause of the disease. Then second, modalities, according to the modality. Yes, we started with different ways of remedy selection. In this first way we covered, that is causation. That is, we give the remedy or select the remedy on the basis of cause of a disease condition, and according to the cause of disease we select the remedy. In this they explain the different examples regarding the cause of a disease. Now the second way of selection of remedy is that of modalities. So modalities also help and indicate a suitable remedy if they are characteristics. If the modalities are characteristics, they also indicate the suitable remedy for the selection. In this they give the example as 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. aggravation is well known of lycopodium, while midday midnight aggravation might suggest arsenic album. Early morning aggravation brings to notice remedies like Kali Beach, Nux Omega. So these are the different time modalities or characteristic modalities on which you can prescribe a remedy or you can select a remedy for the patient. So this is the second way of selection of remedy, that is modalities. Then the third way of selection for the remedy is miasms. So in the miasms, the miasmatic approach where a anti-miasmatic remedy is selected as an intercurrent helps in those cases which come to standstill. So after giving the medicine, if there is a standstill condition, in that cases you require a intercurrent help, and that intercurrent help may be a anti-miasmatic remedy, and in that cases you select the anti-miasmatic remedy for the patient, and this may be the remedy selection for that case. So it also helps in the selection of remedy, that is miasms. Then the fourth way of selection of remedy is organopathic remedies, means these are the selected on the basis of their special affinity to affect a particular organ. So these are the selected on the basis of their special affinity affects a particular organ. In that a particular organ having a special affinity of that medicine, and this approach is useful when the characteristic symptoms are not available and remedy needs to be selected only on the basis of pathology and parts involved. That is, when you do not get any characteristic peculiar uncommon symptom, in that cases you have to select that organopathic remedies, means remedy having a particular affection of particular part in that body. This approach is useful when the characteristic symptoms are not available and the remedy needs to be selected only on the basis of pathology and the parts involved in that remedy. So this is the fourth way of selection of remedy, that is organopathic remedies, means remedy that having a affinity for that particular part of a body or a organ in the body. In this we take example as a chelidonium, in this that having a affinity for a liver. So this type of remedy you can select for a liver conditions or a, that is diseases related with the liver. So this may be the example of organopathic remedies. Then the fifth way of selection of remedy is that is keynote selection. In keynote selection, keynotes are helpful in remedy selection in acute cases. That is, most of the time it is useful in the selection of remedy in acute cases, but use of a keynote it permissible only if the remedy is selected on 3 or more keynotes. That is, you have to select the remedy on at least 3 or more keynotes, then it is permissible. And prescribing only on the basis of a single keynote is dangerous and hence not advisable. That is, if you have to select a remedy on a keynote, you have at least 3 or more keynotes that indicate the remedy, and most of the time keynotes are helpful for the selection of remedy in acute cases. But use of a keynote is permissible only if the remedy is selected on three or more keynotes and prescribing only on the basis of a single keynote is dangerous and hence not advisable. So this is the fifth way of selection of remedy, that is keynote selection. Then the sixth way, that is of concomitants. That is, according to the Boni Hussein, concomitants are the most important and characteristic symptoms in any given case and therefore need to be considered while selecting a similar remedy. Means while selecting a remedy, you have to consider the concomitants if they are present. If they are present, they are the characteristics and very peculiar uncommon symptoms, and this can be help for the selection of remedy. So in this you can take example as in case of dysmenorrhea with accompanying with ineffectual urging for stools during episodes of menstrual colic suggest nux vomica, while sulfur is indicated when burning palms and soles, aggravated ameliorated in summer, aggravated in uncovering accompanies with other troubles. So these may be the examples regarding the concomitants. In this, the dysmenorrhea accompanying with ineffectual desires for stool during the episodes of menstrual colic. If these types of concomitants are present in your case, you have to consider that concomitants, as these concomitants are characteristic symptoms, very peculiar symptoms or uncommon symptoms, and this can be help for the selection of remedy. So this is the sixth way of selection of remedy, that is concomitants. Then the next way, that is relationship of remedies. Next different way of selection is that relationship of remedies. In relationship of remedies, knowledge of relationship of remedies helps in selecting the appropriate remedy to follow another which has ceased to act after a partial effect. So while selecting the remedy, you must know the relationship of that remedies. Means after selection of this remedy, what will be the next remedy, or what is the relationship between these remedies. That is, knowledge of relationship of remedies helps in selection of appropriate remedy to follow another which has ceased to act after a partial effect. In this you can take example as in a chronic case where the constitutional remedy is silica, the acute symptoms might call for pulsatilla, which is chronic of silica. That is, in chronic case where the constitutional remedy is silica, the acute symptoms might call for pulsatilla. That is, if there is acute symptoms, it might call for a pulsatilla, which is a chronic of silica. So for this reason you have to know the relationship of remedies. Similarly, belladonna might be required to manage acute complaints in a patient whose chronic remedy is calcarea carp. That is, patients having a calcarea carp as a chronic remedy, but he suffer from acute symptoms that may relate to the belladonna. So you have the thorough knowledge regarding the relationship between the remedies, and this can be help for the selection of remedy, that is relationship of remedies. So this is the one of the way of selection of the remedy. Then the next way of selection of remedy is that is changes in personality and temperament. What are the changes that occur in the personality and temperament, and how they help in the selection of remedy. In this, these are principally to be noted, especially when uncommon peculiar indications are present. Taking written notes of every case gradually drills the mind into recognizing types and their corresponding remedies. That is, the expression of the intellectual and the moral are interdependent, and their combination affords the best and also sole indication in the choice of remedy for mental affections. Examples according to the Clark's clinical report. So they gave different examples regarding the different remedy. That is, what should be the personality of that remedy and what should be the temperament, and that suggests for the selection of remedy. So while taking the case, you have to note all the details regarding that person. That is, what is the his mental condition, what is his disposition, and what is his different symptoms that recognizes the type of personality or the temperament that suggests the temperament, and on the basis of this you can select the remedy. So in this they gave the different examples, that is like we called some remedies as a specific indication. We called pulsatilla as a affectionate, that is personality of pulsatilla is towards the affectionate. He is very she is very affectionate person. Then we called Brainia alba as a bad temperament, that is very selfishness that is present in a Brainia, so we called it as a bad temperament. Or we took example as a platinum as a bilious attack of woman. So in this the according to the Clark clinical report they gave the different examples, but the main theme of this, that is while taking the case you have to note the mental disposition of the patient and his body disposition also, that indicates the what is the personality and what is the type of temperament that involved in that person and towards what remedy it goes. So this helps in the selection of remedy, that is, so these are the different way in which you can select the remedies, or we call it as a different ways of remedy selection. So in this we studied 8 different ways by which we can select the remedies. In this first way we see, that is causation, on the basis of cause you can select the remedy. Second, on the modalities, if the modalities are characteristic you can select the remedy on the basis of modalities. Then third way, that is miasms, that is you have to select the anti-miasmatic remedies. Then organopathic means, that is if the remedy having a special affinity to particular part of a body, that is organopathic remedies. Then keynote remedies, mostly it is indicated in acute cases and you have to consider at least 3 or more keynotes, then it is permissible. Then next way is concomitants, that is these are the characteristic symptoms and you have to consider while selection of the remedy. Then relationship of the remedies, that is while selecting the remedy you must know the relationship of that remedy. Then last way, that is changes in the personality and the temperament, that is while considering the remedy or selecting the remedy you have to form the portrait of the disease and you have to know the mental disposition, physical disposition of that person, and what is the personality of type of personality, and the that suggests the temperament of that particular person, that indicates towards the which remedy can be selected for that person. So this is the different way by which you can select the remedies for a patient. So this can be asked rarely in exam, that is different way of selection of remedy, and you can elaborate the point according to your knowledge, and that is teaching in a class. So all of you understand the different ways of remedy selection. Yes, all of you understand.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So in this lecture we cover the 2 points, that is aphorism number 150 regarding the indisposition and the main difference between the disease and the indisposition, and the second point we covered, that is the different ways of selection of remedy. So we remaining 4 aphorisms, that is aphorism number 151, 152, 153 and 154 we will took in next class. So in this class that we studied, all of you understand any difficulty regarding these aphorisms? Yes.
No, ma'am.
So can I ask question to you? Can I ask questions to you?
Okay, ma'am.
So what is explaining in aphorism number 146?
And third point of business, knowledge of medicine, medicinal knowledge with the disease knowledge.
How to apply the
What
medicine?
is
Disease,
stated?
then knowledge of disease and how to apply the knowledge of medicine to knowledge of disease.
Yes. Then what is a specific remedy?
According to the homeopathy, the specific remedy means who matches the symptoms of artificial disease with natural diseases.
Yes, and actually there is no place to specific remedy in
No place for
homeopathy
specific remedy in homeopathy.
according to the nosological classification of disease. It is important. According to the nosological classification of disease, there is no any specific remedy in homeopathy. Then what is given in footnote 149?
Mongrel sect.
What is mean by mongrel sect?
The physicians who do not practice homeopathy in proper way, they blame homeopathy, that they are saying that homeopathy does not work, but they are only not practicing in proper way.
Okay, and last, what is the how homeopathic cure takes place? Someone else. How homeopathic cure takes place and aphorism number?
First we do case taking, then form the portrait of disease, then form the portrait of medicine, then we give the medicines in a higher potency, then the artificial diseases form, and then cure is take place.
Anyone else? Yes, it is correct. But anyone else wants to tell? Remaining boys? Siddesh? Abhijit? Yes, Abhijit.
Yes, ma'am.
What is how homeopathic cure takes place?
By the
कशी होते तुला काय कळालं त्याच्याबद्दल मराठीत सांग. काय करतो आपण होमिओपॅथीमध्ये मेडिसिन देतो म्हणजे
लॉ ऑफ सिमिलिबम आणि त्याच्यानुसार मेडिसिन त्यांना
मेडिसिन देतो. सिलेक्ट केलं आपण सिमिलिया सिमिलिबस क्युरेंटरनुसार मेडिसिन सिलेक्ट केलं आणि पेशंटला दिलं, तर मग दिल्याच्या नंतर काय होतं पेशंटच्या बॉडीमध्ये?
त्याचे रिॲक्शन होत ना.
कशाची रिॲक्शन?
त्यांचा इफेक्ट होतो ना.
मग तेच सांगितलं त्याच्यामध्ये होमिओपॅथिक क्युअर कशी होते. तर त्याच्यामध्ये आपण जे काही सिम्पटम सिमिलॅरिटीवरती मेडिसिन सिलेक्ट करतो, मेडिसिन सिलेक्ट करतो आणि पेशंटला देतो. पेशंटला देतो म्हणजे काय करतो आपण पेशंटच्या बॉडीमध्ये आर्टिफिशियल डिसीज प्रोड्यूस करतो. पेशंटच्या बॉडीमध्ये ऑलरेडी नॅचरल डिसीज आहे, आपण मेडिसिन देऊन त्याच्या बॉडीमध्ये आर्टिफिशियल डिसीज प्रोड्यूस करतो. पण आर्टिफिशियल डिसीज आपण थोडा जास्त प्रमाणात प्रोड्यूस करतो, म्हणजे त्याची पॉवर कशी असते, जास्त असते आर्टिफिशियल डिसीजची. मग तो आर्टिफिशियल डिसीज काय करतो, जो काही नॅचरल डिसीज त्या पेशंटमध्ये ऑलरेडी प्रेझेंट होता, त्या नॅचरल डिसीजला काय करतो, अनहिलेट करतो. कारण की आपण बघितलं ना, 2 सिमिलर डिसीज बॉडीमध्ये मीट झाले तर काय होतं, तर क्युअर होते. सिमिलर डिसीज मीट झाले तर आता आपण सिमिलर डिसीज प्रोड्यूस केलेत. आर्टिफिशियल डिसीज जो प्रोड्यूस केला तो कसा आहे, त्याचा सिमिलर आहे आणि हाय पॉवरचा आहे. त्याच्यामुळे तो काय करतो, नॅचरल डिसीजला अनहिलेट करतो, म्हणून तिथून काढून टाकतो नॅचरल डिसीजला. आणि नॅचरल डिसीज निघून गेला की आर्टिफिशियल डिसीज म्हणजेच काय, आपण जे मेडिसिन दिलं आहे त्याचा इफेक्ट आहे. आणि त्याचा इफेक्ट काय असतो, ठराविक काळापुरता असतो, की कुठल्या मेडिसिनचा 15 दिवस इफेक्ट आहे, कुठल्याचा 1 महिना इफेक्ट आहे. आणि त्याच्यामुळं त्याचा इफेक्ट जोपर्यंत तो बॉडीमध्ये राहतो आणि त्याच्यानंतर तो पण आपोआप निघून जातो आणि पेशंट काय होतो, फ्री फ्रॉम डिसीज कंडिशन. आणि पेशंट काय होतो, फ्री होतो सगळ्या डिसीज कंडिशनपासून. मग हा काय वे ऑफ, दॅट इज हाऊ होमिओपॅथिक क्युअर टेक्स प्लेस. कळालं का?
हा मॅम.
हां. आणि आज तुझा अटेंडन्स देण्याचा नंबर होता, पण ती प्रीती देणार आहे आज, तर तू उद्या अटेंडन्स
म्हणजे?
सेंड करायची आहे सगळ्यांची.
हा.
अटेंडन्स
हा.
तर नेक्स्ट लेक्चरला तू करणार आहे अटेंडन्स सेंड. आज प्रीती घरबुडे करणार आहे.
चालेल मॅम.
प्रीती तुला सेंड करायची आज, तो नेक्स्ट लेक्चरला करल अभिजित. ओके, ऑल ऑफ यू अंडरस्टँड?
येस मॅम.
Yes, ma'am.
So we will stop here.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, bye everyone.
Bye, ma'am.
Bye.
Bye, ma'am.
Bye.
मॅम.
Bye.